Traveling to where you are.
Hello everyone, I'm Brooklyn and I'm here from Culture's Compass to interview Aphrose. How are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm great. So the first question that I had for you was to just kind of tell us about where your musical influences are and what kind of styles you're going for right now in your music.
So my musical styles are a combination of neo-soul, traditional soul, R&B, a little bit of hip-hop, a little bit of folk, some singer-songwriter stuff, some island influences from my parents' country of Trinidad. So it's a little bit of everything and all of my influences growing up musically. And yeah.
Awesome. That's really cool. And are there any artists that specifically influence you, like that you're listening to right now that you kind of grew up with?
Well, I grew up listening to a crazy, diverse, mixed bag of music. So as I mentioned before, my parents are from Trinidad and Tobago. And so I grew up listening to a lot of calypso and soca and those like island styles of music, reggae, Bollywood, old Bollywood soundtracks. And I also grew up listening to a lot of Aretha Franklin, a lot of Stevie Wonder, a lot of Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, Shania Twain, a lot of country music too, actually, weirdly enough. So those were my musical influences growing up because it was just the music that was being played in my household. Now I listen to, again, just a very vast cross-section of genres of music. Currently, I'm obsessed with the No Worries album that just came out, which is Anderson .Paak and Knowledge. And I've just been spinning that nonstop.
That's Why Laud, right?
Yeah. Why Laud, yeah.
That's really good.
It's
really
so good.
So my next question for you was that for those who don't know, you were a Humber student in Humber Music. And so I was wondering, were you performing under the Aphrose name at Humber, or was that something that developed afterwards?
So no, I was performing under my birth name, or my government name, which was Joanna Muhammad, like during my Humber years. But I wasn't really doing a lot of solo performing, although I did some. The Aphrose name and project came to be in 2017. And I needed sort of like a clear distinction between my working persona of doing, jobbing gigs, corporate things like that, and my artist persona. And once I solidified the Aphrose project and kind of dreamt up what it was going to be, I feel like I really came into my own as an artist.
Awesome. That's really great. And you're performing at the Global Toronto Music Festival in September.
I am.
So how are you kind of preparing for that? What can we expect from your performance?
So I'm super, super excited to be performing at this year's Global Toronto. I've been applying for many years and I finally landed it. So thank you so much, Global Toronto, for choosing me this year. I've been rehearsing with my band. Mostly the music that I'm going to be doing is going to be off my latest album, Roses, that came out in October of 2023. And we've been really working at the live treatment of what this album is going to sound like, using tracks and live instrumentation as well. And, you're going to expect a lot of big vocals, big sound, lots of different genres mixed into one, which is pretty much the Aphrose sound in a nutshell.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun festival, I think.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Toronto and music, the Toronto music scene, obviously, it's very diverse. There's so many communities, cultures that kind of go into that. So what of your experience living in Toronto has kind of influenced your music?
I grew up sort of in the suburbs of Toronto, actually. Shout out to Scarborough. And the ends, one time for the ends. So I think growing up in Scarborough specifically has like shaped me, not only musically, but like into the person I am. I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood where I went to school with like people from all different nationalities and cultures and races and all that stuff, and being exposed to so many different cultures from young was just my normal. It just became my normal to have friends from like different backgrounds and ethnicities, and so I think that diversity in school, being exposed to it in school and then being exposed to it musically at home has like, in terms of music, as it really shaped me into like who I am and like the things that inspire me. I'm not very like one-dimensional when it comes to my sound. Like I like to just like throw a curveball in there, you know, like it sounds like something that is a hybrid of hip hop and 2000s R&B, but like we're gonna now put a breakdown that sounds like Radiohead or something. Like it's just, music is meant to be experimental and fun, and I just love experimenting with it.
Where kind of in the Toronto music scene, do you think that there's really like where the scene excels in terms of like diversity, equity, accessibility, that sort of thing? That's kind of what we're all about at Cultures Compass, so we'd love to hear.
Well, I think Toronto as a whole, because of how diverse it is, there really is no place like Toronto. I've realized that as I've traveled to different parts of the world and even just different parts of North America, or like, you know, our neighbor in the States, like I traveled there. It's multicultural there, but not in the way it is in Toronto specifically. So I think we do a really good job of celebrating different cultures and ethnicities, and like all the celebrations that we have in the summer from week to week. Like there's, you know, I was just at Salsa on St. Clair, and like you walk down the street and there's like salsa bands playing and people dancing in the streets, and then, you know, the next week is Caribbean Carnival or like Taste of Little Italy. Like I think we do a good job of supporting music and cultures here in Toronto. I think where we can improve is like on the music sort of end of things. We do a good job of creating opportunities for what's called world music, which a lot of the time caters towards like more like instrumental bands, like Afro-Cuban or you know, Latin jazz or African music, which is all phenomenal. There are popular styles of music that are being created by BIPOC people, such as the genre that I'm in, soul, R&B, hip hop. And these are like more mainstream genres, but I think where we can improve is by supporting these genres of music more here at home, because I find that these genres, even though they're mainstream, a lot of our artists that are BIPOC artists, they find their footing and their support elsewhere versus here. It's not fostered well here. Yeah. Does that answer?
Yes, that was a fantastic answer. Before we kind of wrap up, I was just wondering, what projects do you have out that we can listen to? What upcoming projects are you really excited about that you could share with us?
So as I mentioned before in one of my previous answers, my album Roses came out last October, so you can check that out. It's still very new, even though I worked on it for many years. So that just came out, but I'm also currently working on a remix project of some of the songs off of the Roses album. And I think I'm gonna be dropping a remix sometime in August. I haven't quite figured out the rollout plan yet. And I have been working on new music as well, which seems very bizarre just because I've been in sort of like rollout campaign brain for so long now, for like almost a year. So it feels good to be like writing again and creating, because that is the part that I love the most. And I'm also doing my first sort of West Coast tour in October.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, lots to look forward to.
Yeah, that's really great. That's exciting. And where can we find you? What social media platforms can we kind of follow what you're doing on?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Aphrose Music, and the way you spell Aphrose is Aphrose. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music. Like just Google Aphrose and all the things will pop up.
Good to know. Well, it was lovely talking to you.
Likewise.
And yeah, this is Brooklyn from Culture's Compass, and we'll see you next time.
Traveling to where you are.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Aphrose. Okay, wait, no, I'm gonna start that over. I need to introduce myself.
A lot of the music that, sorry, my stomach just crumbled.
Do you want to do that again?
Yeah, it was like, like, did the mic pick that up?